If you are wanting to play GoldenEye just like it was on the Nintendo 64, you fucking play it, enjoy it, and consume it all you want. But it's not going to stop me from going on a fucking half-hour tangent, because this shit should be expected in a better performance instead of just, here, consume this, and that's it. It should be delivered in a better state, especially if it's fucking overhyped to the fucking moon and back. Oh my god. They actually fucked it up. They fucked up. They fucked up. They fucked up. They have fucked up. They have fucked up now. They fucked up. You have fucked up. They have fucked up. She fucked up. He fucked up. They fucked up. It fucked up. Everyone fucked it up. Everything fucked it up. Oh my god. How could this fucking re-release fuck everything up for everyone? First things first, if you're gonna call me a nitpicky asshole, fuck you, I'm not gonna bother responding to you, because this shit is actually kinda serious. And April Fool's isn't even here yet. But don't worry, I'll save something extra special for that without the copyright nonsense from last year. How could they possibly fuck up this re-release? I'm going to explain a couple of things. First of all, there's no online play. And before some smarky jackass tries to say, actually, you could play the online for GoldenEye if you play the Nintendo Switch version, which has online play for all the other wonderful Nintendo 64 releases, don't you know? Fuck you for being a Nintendo. And second of all, if people can't even play Mario Kart 64, which isn't even the greatest kart racer, let alone best Mario Kart game ever made, online properly, on a system that's supposedly built in to be as simple as possible compared to the PC, I don't think GoldenEye is going to be any better. There have been reports of Mario Kart 64 running like shit, despite being on a Nintendo system, and Nintendo's online system they never fixed since fucking Brawl, which is funny to me. So I'm not even going to count that piece of shit and quite frankly overpriced emulator package as an excuse for online. You seriously cannot try to justify that this package, which we're supposed to be thankful for, by the way, we should be thankful that we can even get anything, considering the legal issues. Guess what? We're supposed to be getting better, and we did. With the GoldenEye release back in 2008, was it? I saw a video, a couple videos actually, by Modern Vintage Gamer. He's actually pretty alright. He does some really cool videos about older games and all the other emulation stuff, and he even did a video talking about this topic recently. But since I have some time to rant today, I'm gonna go over some of the things about this so-called re-release that just pissed me off. So, what is there to talk about with this so-called perfect re-release that even Rare themselves is hyping up? Okay, look, I'm gonna give more defense for the Battletoads reboot, but this is just inexcusable. And no, I'm not gonna elaborate why, because if people don't want to listen to reason, then I ain't gonna bother. People retarded. Anyway, let's get into the multiplayer side of things. And yes, I'm gonna keep bringing up the GoldenEye Xbox Live Arcade version that got cancelled, because Code Mystic's gonna be bothered using that version as the basis, and rather just a slightly reworked ROM of the original, which wouldn't be so bad, except it has all the same faults from the original Nintendo 64 release. Which wouldn't be so bad, except this is 2023. We should be expecting better. If you play the GoldenEye Xbox Live Arcade version re-release on Xenia, the Xbox 360 emulator, there are actually 2 new levels added for that version, which is Dam and Frigate. Cradle and the statue level were supposed to be added in, but there were some technical issues that prevented it from being playable, and even if you were to somehow play statue, it was just a fucking mess. There's a reason why the shit got on the cutting room floor. But even putting aside the fact there weren't any bots in the re-release, which did upset me a little bit, but let's face it, the original didn't have it, but it did make up for it by letting people supposedly play in System Link and Xbox Live, which, you know, best subscription you have to pay to play online games when, I'm sorry, this isn't the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox days where the Xbox came pre-packaged with that shit, whereas the PS2 you had to buy an adapter. Shit ain't like that anymore. The re-release adds in a new couple levels of play, which weren't even featured in the original, in which, to those who are wondering, the dam is essentially the second half of the level where you're on the actual dam, with crates blocking a good chunk of the level, which I guess makes sense, and Frigate is pretty much the top half of the level, and you can't really go beyond into the ship or whatever. It's just basically the outskirts of it, if you even want to call it that. The main issue with this Xbox Series X re-release is that it doesn't even use any of the fancy interfaces from the original release. You know, having much more cleaner menus, much more high-quality menus, which I'm sure some purists will be pissed off about. But honestly, is UI overhauls really that big of a fucking deal to some of these purists? I mean, come on. It looks more up-to-date, and even still looks good for 2008, I think, or 2007, whatever came out, I don't care. It was supposed to be the way that, much like with Perfect Dark, that got revitalized into the next generation Special Forces Unit Foxhound. Except some people actually did bring up how a user I retweeted actually stated that this is a really shitty re-release, although I didn't quite agree with them saying that GoldenEye is terrible. I still think GoldenEye is decent, but there is one thing that does kind of annoy me with both of the re-releases, but that is honestly a personal nitpick at the highest degree. More on that in a little bit. This re-release is basically more like a pure version of the original, but with every annoying thing about the original version. I'm still not going to stream the game, but I did play it for a bit. The first day that it came out, I played up to Silo, because Silo is a little annoying due to the time restraints, the time limit on 00 Agent, and I didn't feel like having to deal with the annoying-ass scientists that don't drop the keys correctly, and if you can't lure the guards to open the door, you're just kind of fucked, because I think the scientists disappear or something, or they go too far back into the level to even get the key, or I'm just a moron, I didn't see the key in the fucking floor. And then I did decide to play a little bit more, because I wanted to see more of the game, and when I got to Bunker 2, which is the level that gave me a little bit of hard times when I played it back on the Xenia emulator, because those damn annoying guards that honestly got in my way, I noticed something that really pissed me off, and this is the main point I want to bring up. You're gonna tell me that you're gonna hype up 4-player split-screen co-op or whatever the fuck, and yet you're still gonna have the stupid-ass limitations that prevents people from playing Bunker, Archives, and even Caverns and Egyptian that you couldn't even do in the original release, because if you play in 3-player mode, it removes Egyptian from the lineup, and if you play in 4-player mode, it removes those other 3 levels. Yeah, I know people only play in Facility, but what the actual fuck? Why the fuck would this so-called hyped-up release by employees who probably don't even fucking work on the game anymore on Rare's Twitter account, maybe I might be wrong enough, I don't give a shit. Why would they keep hyping up this so-called, let's bring the couch local multiplayer back when they still have the same retarded limitation that was annoying even back then? And yes, I know you're probably thinking, oh, well, they didn't want to ruin the game by not being too imperfect or whatever. You can use a Game Shark code to remove this stupid fucking retarded limitation, and it would still work fine. There are people playing on some emulator that has online play that removes those restrictions so people can indeed play Bunker with 4 people and all that stuff. And it's actually pretty exciting. I mean, yeah, it might not be the intended way to play the game, but still, you're honestly going to tell me that this part of the game, the thing that brought everyone together, even though, let's be honest, multiplayer was a last-minute addition to the game, and it legit struck lightning in the bottle because it was so goddamn good to play and so much goddamn fun despite the limited options at the time. And not to mention fucking Oddjob, which, funny enough, doesn't even have a fucking ban option despite being the most broken character only because of height differences. This shit is like what South Park did, the shooter made by those who made the good Turok game. I'm sorry, the only good Turok game. Those characters on that game had really weird height differences, and even though you're playing as the boys, it's really fucking awkward to play a South Park game where almost 3/4 of the cast are normal height, whereas the kids and the boys, they're all small as fuck. And Oddjob is basically the odd one out. And yet there's not even a proper ban option for him, or even Jaws, despite being an anti-handicap. And yes, just in case you might know, I actually play as Jaws purposely because the people I play with kind of tend to suck. I'm not that much of an asshole to play as Oddjob. At least it's not the Activision codified piece of shit re-release that is nowhere near as good as Treyarch's take on Quantum Assault, so it's actually better in almost every single way. That shit actually recreated Facility, and it wasn't completely fucking terrible. It's really disappointing that the multiplayer of all things had to be completely gimped for a re-release of a game that actually had good multiplayer, even if it is admittedly tacked on and not even having the improvements from Perfect Dark or whatever. And to those who are probably gonna say it, GoldenEye X is a thing. No, ROM hacks are illegal. You can't use ROM hacks, that's not what the developers originally wanted. I don't want to fucking hear it in the comments. I don't even expect GoldenEye X. I just want a decent way to play GoldenEye with my friends and my homies in modern times, and yet they still can't fucking get it right. Even with the Nintendo Switch version, which I'm gonna talk about because I didn't fucking renew my subscription for that shit, it's fucking pointless. I could legitimately play any Nintendo 64 game on my fucking phone. If it was just saying, oh, I can't run emulators on my phone, man, it might not be that fucking powerful. Do you even know the fucking requirements to run that shit, dude? Have you even tried? No. Let's get to the other thing that annoys me about this fucking game. I'm gonna go on the biggest fucking nitpicky tangent since fucking Warping and Dark Souls 2. I'm fucking dead-ass serious with this shit. GoldenEye is known for not having the greatest control scheme on the Nintendo 64, considering that when it came out, it was on the fucking Nintendo 64 controller. Most people used to use the 1.1 option, but 1.2 is pretty much objectively the best way to play GoldenEye, provided you actually want to play a fucking game. When the game was supposed to come out, on the Xbox 360, it added a bunch of quality of life improvements of letting people play the game with dual analog controls, much like every other shooter came out in existence. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be completely 100% honest, and if you take this the wrong way, fuck you. I don't give a shit. Dual analog controls for GoldenEye break the game. I'm not even kidding. It is a fucking crutch, and you are cheating if you're playing it that way. And you're probably thinking, wow, what an asshole. You know what? You might be right. But here's the thing. You have people who claim that Time Splitters 2 has the most fun content, the most replayability, and yet they cite the controls are very dated when given that Time Splitters 2 at the very least was made for dual controls. Even though the aiming might not be as good, it is still perfectly playable provided you get used to it. I do feel that people can get used to playing GoldenEye with Nintendo 64 controller at least. You can get used to it. That's why the AI is not exactly as accurate as they like to be, and that's why they do the little fancy rolls like they're playing Dark Souls. Oh my god, he brought up Dark Souls in modern times. Oh no, even what fucking said it like not even a minute ago, you fucking numbnuts. Rare knew that making a shooter on the Nintendo 64 wasn't exactly so, the best idea, even though it's still a good game. Perfect Dark might be better, but at least you don't need a fucking expansion pack to play it. Just being honest. If you are to use 2 analog sticks with this fucking game, you are cheating. You not only cheated the game, you're cheating yourself. And doubly so if you're using a mouse and keyboard injector into a game that's made on console. I'm being very serious about this when I say this. If you are playing Time Splitters 2 or Future Perfect on Dolphin with a mouse and keyboard injector, you are not playing the game. You are using a fucking cheat and not getting the intended experience when even something like Time Splitters 2 and Future Perfect are perfectly playable with controller. If Time Splitters 2 and Future Perfect at least, the first one is more or less a launch title, but even then it's still a lot better than Halo. In fact, Time Splitters is better than Halo, I'm not gonna fucking get into that shit. If Time Splitters and Halo can be proven to be perfectly playable with the PlayStation 2 and Xbox controllers, and then GameCube when 2 and Future Perfect came out, you don't need a mouse and keyboard set up for a game when those games are not designed, or at the very least let you officially use it, like games like Red Faction 2 for example, or any other game like Unreal Tournament for the Dreamcast, which was pretty much a necessary feature, because the Dreamcast controller is fucking terrible. If you're using a mouse and keyboard injector for GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, you're honestly cheating and you should be ashamed of yourself. And you're probably thinking, why is Player being such a fucking asshole right now? Why can't you just let people have fun? If there are people who want to play Counter-Strike with a controller and are shunned for it, I'm going to shun people for playing an old-ass shooter that isn't even designed for mouse and keyboard, and yet they act like they can't play the fucking game with a controller, yet they played with controller when they were kids. Because Code Mystics or want to make the game even easier for the little kids and the adults who can't play the game like they used to, which is fucking retarded. Seriously, I'm not gonna fucking give a benefit of the doubt this time. They make the game even easier by letting you essentially having the crosshair on screen at all times, in addition to letting you move freely about as if you're playing the game on fucking PC. The only disadvantage of this is that you don't get the auto aim, which is actually a pretty useful way of stunning enemies, since, you know, whenever you shoot an enemy, they always get stunned, because, you know, it's part of the game's design. Given that the game already plays like ass on Nintendo 64 controller, but it can be learned, and there's actually an art to it. Seriously, just look up all the fucking people who play the game speedrunning it, and not the kind of speedruns that you get shit for if you attempt to use skips, like people did to me. We're talking about Halo 2 on that one level, which is not only an achievement, but you have to do so. Fucking retards need to fucking let go of that shit, by the way. These people who mastered the art of playing GoldenEye on Nintendo 64 is quite a sight to see, provided not cheating, but they even make it a crutch for the people who want to play the game like it's time splitters, which would be fine, except this isn't fucking time splitters. I know someone's gonna be like, oh, well, you can do the same thing for Perfect Dark. Alright, fine, you got me there, but, you know, at least Perfect Dark got a proper treatment, and there's even a classic controller option if you want to be completely purist about it, which kind of runs like ass, but let's face it, Perfect Dark got the better treatment, because it's not based on an old-ass movie series that already has conflicting problems with its ongoing ones of Daniel Craig and whatever film it is. Was it No Time to Die? The controls, while more optimized for modern times, do not fit with GoldenEye's structure, and it just breaks the fucking game. I legit felt like I cheated the game because I was able to do things I couldn't even do in the original release to begin with. But there is one thing that does annoy me about this re-release, since I'm going on about the constant bitching, if you want to even call it that, like Darksiders 3 warping versus Dark Souls 2 warping bitching. If you know, you know. The Xbox Live Arcade version actually had a weapon button dedicated for gadgets, because there's some levels you have to pause the game and switch over to the gadgets, like the modem for the dam, the thing for the frigate. It's the same thing, I forget what it's called, it's a bug, whatever the fuck. Or even switching to that one remote monitor you use on Surface 2 on the fucking helicopter. And if you put it anywhere else, you fail the mission. Seems fair enough, right? Well, here's another thing. Despite developers adding in a thing that lets you quickly switch weapons back and forth like it's time splitters, there's no button that just simply lets you switch to gadgets, which massively improves the pace of the game. Why was this not implemented? I really don't fucking know. I guess it would be kind of awkward considering it to use reload and then the weapon switch to go back. I'm not even sure if I tested it or not. I didn't even bother, quite frankly. You put in an option as a shortcut to switch weapons backwards, but not a fucking gadget weapon wheel? Are you kidding me? Fucking Christ. I'm gonna get into this really quick too, because I don't really see an issue with this, to be honest, but whatever. There are people upset that if you don't own the Rare Replay digitally, you don't get to play GoldenEye for free. The game was long hyped. The game practically goes on sale whenever. That's your own fucking fault. Get with the times, Gramps. Speaking of licensing issues, let me talk about this too really quick, because I don't really have anything else to say about this, except this is the part where I prove that this is indeed a fucking lazily rehashed piece of shit. On Runway, you can unlock a mode called Big Head Mode, or as it was originally called in the Nintendo 64 version, DK Mode. Now, I expect that code to be properly named in the Nintendo Switch version, as it's on a Nintendo system. But my face, when I saw that exact same code on the Xbox version, had me like, aw. They couldn't bother renaming it to Big Head just to avoid some fucking nonsense controversy again. And when the licensing runs out, it's just gonna be, you know, Thanos again? Really? You think Nintendo would allow Microsoft to have a cheat called DK Mode when the whole reason of the game not being able to release to begin with because of some really stupid, retarded shit that Shigeru Miyamoto said? This, to be specific. Long before Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary was a thing, which was based on the shitty PC port that Gearbox made, and yet Halo was a console exclusive, okay. There was a thing in there that lets you switch between the original better graphics and the shittier 343 graphics despite using Gearbox, a very well-liked company, right, folks? There was a thing in GoldenEye that wasn't even just emulated, but more or less their own source code that lets them control things and not have such shitty graphical bugs, unless you're playing in Xenia. Anyway, There was a thing in GoldenEye that lets you switch between original graphics and HD graphics for those who don't like the fancy in-game graphics versus the shiny, new improved HD graphics. You really think that if Code Mystics gave too much of a shit, or that Rare would get off their fucking asses and stop plugging this shit on Twitter, which is meant to pamper our asses with nostalgia glasses and all that shit because they want to pander to people like me who don't really like any new games anymore, which is just fucking wrong, by the way. There's just only certain new games I like, and others, well, I don't fucking care. And the few that I do like, I'm extra cautious, but yet, you don't want to let people have fun. You just want to bitch about everything, man. Stop making rants. Fuck you. I was at least expecting maybe something along the lines of GoldenEye HD, considering this is all the fucking hype it was, and all the fucking rumors and shit. And the funny thing is, and I really hate to bring this fucking topic back up again, but GoldenEye has you shooting Russians throughout, like, pretty much all the fucking levels, and yet Advanced Wars doesn't get a fucking break. And yet people want to fucking cry about which will come first, Metroid Prime 4 or fucking Advanced Wars. One is finished, the other isn't. One is just being a fucking snowflake, and the other is, well, dormant because they don't know what to fucking do with the series. Whatever, moving on. People want to call me nostalgia-tards like Ben the Looney back in the day. Or people want to wear the Road Res tinted glasses that's screwed on so fucking hard that not even the fucking jaws of life can unscrew that shit. And yet all I wanted was to at the very least, enjoy GoldenEye, just like I did back as a wee lad. I didn't say mini lad because that would piss some people off. God, that fucking joke is terrible. I'm leaving it in. I just want to enjoy GoldenEye, damn it. I want to enjoy GoldenEye, but I can't because my senses have improved since being a kid who just used to consume everything, but now because of all the shit that's been dealt with, I can't deal with that shit. It's like when people yell at you in a certain way, I can't take it. The anxiety is real with this one. If it's going to lash at me, I'm gonna fucking lash back. But if I lash back, it's bad. But I just gotta fucking take the shit. I'm not having it with family heirlooms, goddammit. I do not want to sound like I'm complaining for nothing, but this shit pisses me off. Seriously, I enjoy GoldenEye. I would play it until the cows come home. If there was a way to play this shit on Xenia with a Nintendo 64 controller, I would. But I'm too lazy for that right now. Because I'm too pissed off ranting about something that should be basically a non-issue. Because if this were any other game, I look like a fucking nut job. But this is serious business, dude. I'm sick and tired of these fucking developers hyping up even an old-ass release of a game I actually like, and yet when there has been evidence of a Xbox Live Arcade release that was supposed to bring in quality of life improvements, barring the dual analog sticks, even that's kind of a non-issue since everything else is so much better, so whatever. Take the good with the bad, right? You know, take the good with the bad. But there's more bad than good considering there's none of the improvements from the unreleased version, all the jarring shit from the original release that's not even excusable at this point. Even something like DK mode being on the fucking Microsoft version of the fucking game. Seriously, it'd be like if you were to play Scribblenauts and you see all the various Nintendo references and shit. That shit would not fly, and I would not be surprised if this got patched out, and I'd be surprised if it didn't. This shit is just fucking nonsense, and I'm tired of people having it's okay to just enjoy a game, even if it's bad, but then get mad at me for doing the exact same thing. No, I'm just tired of people who want to overhype a re-release of an old-ass game that you like, but do it the most bare minimum, not even bother to fix shit, and not even implementing online for a game that actually has good multiplayer and better than the Doom Eternal mod of the same fucking name. Not gonna get into that shit, because it's not necessary. Because I am not a jar of mayonnaise that likes to compare everything to fucking Doom Eternal just for